We've all been to good ones. We've probably all been to some bad ones. Let's just take a walk down memory lane. Hey everybody, today we're going to take a look at my 5 worst concert experiences and my 5 best concert experiences. I am not here to do, by any stretch of the imagination, any kind of bashing on bands or musicians. That's not what this is about. So when we get to the 5 worst, please don't ever take it that way. This is going to sound like a shameless plug. I don't mean it like that. But I'm a musician. I have been in a band for years, playing the smallest clubs to the bigger venues, well, at least for us. And I get the hard work that goes into it. I get all the rehearsal and everything that goes into putting on a good show. I understand. So I don't mean to make anything ever sound like I'm bashing anybody. Not meant to be that way. It's just one of those things. Kind of goes partisan postal with what went wrong that night. Sometimes it ain't even the band's fault. But we'll get into all that. The other thing is, I have been truly lucky and blessed enough to see more people than I could ever humanly remember. That's no joke. Sometimes I have to be reminded of people I've seen. I'm not even joking. So maybe there's some ones I didn't remember or left out. Just don't pop into my head. But either way, I'm going to give you the 5 best and the 5 worst that come right to mind when I initially think about it. So let's get this ballpark started. Okay, I figure we'll start with the 5 worst right off the get-go. And these aren't really in any particular order. I'm just going to kind of number them just to give them to you that way. Just so that, whatever. You get the idea. But here we go. March 2004, at least I'm pretty sure it was that year. We are talking about Bryan Adams at the Palace Theater in Albany. Beautiful venue. Great place. Been to many shows there. Good time. Anyway, me and my wife were very excited to see Bryan Adams. He came out with Reckless basically the year that we got together. I think it was 1985. That's when we got together, and I'm pretty sure that's when Reckless came out. And that was kind of like our Together album. Heaven is our Together song. And on a side note, the first thing my wife ever bought me when we started dating was the cassette of Reckless. She got it at a Caldor. Didn't want me to know she was buying it as a present. She went out, bought it, came back in so I wouldn't see her doing it. Dropped the thing out of her pocket. Security jumped on her thinking that she stole it until she showed them the receipt. And then she had to hand me the thing and say, hey, by the way, here's your present. Sorry. Anyway, I digress. So we go to the Palace Theater and we watch Bryan Adams play. It was a relatively good show until about 40 minutes in. And he walks off stage. And I'm like, he can't be at the encore already. This can't humanly be possible. We just got going. But it was. And he came back and he played a couple more songs. And then 52 minutes later, well, total run time, the show ended. Now, listen, I don't know if he wasn't feeling well. I don't know if he was just having one of those kind of nights where he's like, hey man, I just can't get out there and do it. I'm going to give him something. But when you pay those kind of ticket prices, this was not like a bar ticket. You know what I mean? This was not like you paid like $20 or something. It was a little bit higher than that. And you go for a show that you've been waiting for that long, and you only get, well, less than an hour, kind of leaves a bad taste in your mouth. So, number 5, Bryan Adams at the Palace. It was a big letdown, simply for runtime. They played great, they sounded great, but come on. Okay, I can't remember the year, but in Clifton Park, New York, there's this place, Northern Lights. It became Upstate Concert Hall after that. Cool venue. Regrettably, me and my band never got to play there, but it's one of those places we always wanted to, and they just shut it down before we ever got there. But we are talking about Eddie Money. Listen, man. Everybody likes Eddie Money. He's a nice guy. But I don't know how hammered or not hammered he was that night on the stage. He was up there doing his little Eddie Money dance, and his shirt was unbuttoned in the bottom and the front, and his belly was hanging over his pants, and he looked like everybody's drunk uncle at a wedding. And it was just kind of sad to see. I'm not even going to bring up the fact that there was some guy that was with the band behind the stage literally lift up his girlfriend's shirt and juggling her cans at everybody. And we were all basically watching that more than we were watching Eddie. It was what it was. But it was one of those kind of nights. You kind of went there, you felt like, ooh, I kind of feel bad for this guy. It is what it is. So, sadly, Eddie Money's on the list. November 2006. Same venue, Northern Lights, as a matter of fact. And we went there and we caught Joan Jett and the Blackhearts. It was kind of a cool night for me because it was the first real concert I took my son to. We had seen Weird Al Yankovic before that, and believe it or not, it was a great fucking show. I kid you not. But this time we went out to go see Joan Jett, and she played a good, solid set. She was only up there maybe an hour, but it was like a $12 ticket. You couldn't complain. You're in a larger, whatever, concert hall. You get an hour of entertainment for like $12. You can't, who gives a shit at that point? You're just there having fun. The problem came after the show. They were saying, hey, anybody wants to get an autograph from Joan, you got to buy her new CD. And she'll sign it after the show. You get an autograph. I owned the CD. The problem was, you had to buy it again. Fair enough. I did. Bought the CD, waited till after the show. I noticed when they gave me the CD booklet, the booklet was missing. I'm like, oh, that's kind of weird. Whatever. And then after the show, I see Tommy Price and the other guys, and they're all sitting at a table, and there's a stack of booklets. And I go up, and I'm like, okay, there's no Joan here. Something ain't right. They take each booklet, they give it to each band member, they sign it, and Joan had signed the booklets off stage, or behind the stage, or in the band, or a month before. Who the hell knows? But we were told that she really doesn't like to come out and hang with the people. So she signs it in the back, and then the band signs it, so you get to meet them. And she's never anywhere on the scene. I thought that sucked, to be brutally honest. I didn't like it at all. I've got all kinds of, well, a few autographs. I'm not really an autograph hound, but you know, George Lynch and Ace Frehley and the guys in King's X and all that kind of stuff. Never cost me a dime, never cost me a penny. Everybody was gracious and very, very cool. So the idea that we all wait in line, many of us bought a CD we already owned, just so you go up through line and get an autograph from Joan and say hi. And she signed them ahead of time, and you never got to meet her. That kind of sucked. Just throwing it out there. I didn't think it was a good way to do business. Is what it is. She's still rock royalty. I get it. You have fun with mostly the covers, but it just wasn't a good thing to do to your fans. Okay. SPAC 2013. If you don't know where SPAC is, it's in Saratoga. It's a big performing arts center. It's a big outdoor venue. Everybody goes there all summer long. And, well, now it's ran by Live Nation. Sucks, but that's a whole different thing. You go there all summer long. You catch 1,000,001 shows. You have a good time. It is what it is. Everybody and anybody's played there. I can't even name them all. So we go there and we see Bon Jovi. I'm not a big Bon Jovi guy. But some of the people wanted to go see it. And I'm like, yeah, I'll go. What the hell? I don't care. My wife is like, yeah, let's go see Bon Jovi. Okay, we'll do this. Both of us were so disappointed. It was a weird show. It was after the Sambora had left. And most of the show, I remember us all looking at each other and saying, why is he playing so many covers? We're sitting here saying, at least, you know, hit us with the Bon Jovi songs we know and remember. And everybody heard Slippery When Wet when it came out. So we all knew all those tunes. And I'm like, there's so much he could be playing. And all we're hearing is like his song, cover song, his song, cover song, cover song, his song, cover song. We're like, what are we doing here? I don't understand it. And it didn't have that feeling, that big flavor, that big rock and roll vibe that you would expect at a Bon Jovi show. It's just a bunch of guys kind of standing on stage, belting out their hits in a kind of a haphazard way and doing a bunch of cover tunes. So I gotta say, by the time we walked out of there, we were like, that's as good as it got, huh? All right. We've been here once. We probably might not do it again. Is what it is. And finally, November 1995. At a place called Saratoga Winners, which is kind of like mythical in our local area up in this way. Everybody came through there and seen all kinds of the more harder, cooler bands that might not be able to fill up the giant arenas. It was like a big barn. It was run down. It was beat. And it was cool and shit until the owner set it on fire and wound up going to jail for basically torturing his own place and trying to get the insurance money. That's a story for another day. But we went and seen Ace Frehley and Peter Criss on what they called the Bad Boys Tour. This is right before they got back into Kiss. Right before they got back into Kiss. And they were running around doing a little club tour together. Okay, I hate to be this way. It really wasn't the best thing I'd ever seen. Peter Criss played with this band, I think it was called Angel or something they called it, I can't remember. And at the beginning of the show, they're all standing on stage, LA style, and you hear machine gun fire pumped in over the speakers, and all the band members react like they're being shot, and they drop to the floor, and we're all looking at each other like, what the fuck is going on? Despite the fact they were all probably like either half or 1/3 of his age, it is what it is. And they got up there and they played. They played some tunes they didn't really know, and then they played like some Kiss songs that Peter Criss sang. And Peter Criss just seemed angry all night. He was playing the drums. He kept complaining about his drum kit or complaining about the mic and just looked pissed off and annoyed the entire evening. And I was like, God, this guy doesn't seem like he wants to be here. But we got through it, and it was Ace Frehley time. Now we're right up near the front. It's Ace Frehley time. I met him before. Got an autograph. He signed my Kiss Alive original pressing. And he breaks out, and the audience went ape shit nuts. You would have thought we were at the biggest death metal concert you'd ever seen. People were getting driven to the floor. The crowd just started swaying. It was like, forget what you'd seen at a Korn show or anything. This shit broke loose. And all that's going through my head is, guys, it's Ace Frehley. Can we calm the fuck down for a second? My 4'11" wife was getting thrown all over the place, so I just grabbed her, shielded her, escorted the hell out of there, and went to the back of the venue and watched the mayhem from behind. Ace was fun. It was a good show. I wouldn't say he was in top form by any stretch of the imagination. But the combination of Peter looking a little bit disgusted, Ace not playing as good as one would remember, and an audience that lost its shit. And I mean, I seen other bodies coming out of there, and the security were throwing them up on the balconies and the bleachers, trying to get women out of there because they just couldn't take it. I mean, they were just getting smashed all over the place. It wasn't the best thing, and it wasn't the best vibe. So, to round off my 5, Ace Frehley, Peter Criss, Bad Boys Tour is what it was. Okay, everybody, now let's get to the fun section. We are talking the best shows I've ever been to. And again, I've been to so many, I'm sure there's ones I'm not even going to mention the Jane's Addiction show, a band I don't even really like. That was one of the best shows I ever seen in my life. I'm not even going to put them on the list. There's so many other shows like that, I can't even name them. But these are the 5 that when I think of my shows, I'm like, whoa, they will stick with me forever. MetLife Stadium, July 2016. Guns N' Roses reunion tour. Whoa, that was a night to end all nights. They got up there, they played for 3 hours, and they kicked the shit out of it. It was great. Lenny Kravitz opened, had a really, really good set. Now I know these days, at least now, they're kind of using some backing tracks on the vocals and shit like that. But back then, I can't really tell you if they were now. But either way, it was a great show. And when Guns N' Roses came out and kicked it into almighty gear, it was amazing. They played great, they sounded great, and it went on forever, almost to the point where we're like, guys, it's incredibly hot out here, let's wrap it up. And I got to point this out. It was incredibly hot out that day. We sat on the tarmac, out there in a bus, roasting. We were some of the first people in line when they started letting us into the Meadowlands. I'll put a picture up. We were literally the first people in line. People were blacking out in line to get into there. As soon as I got in, I was so hungry, I bought a big chocolate chip cookie, and it folded over in 30 seconds into a glop. That kind of heat. I have so many other stories about that night. Some shit I probably should never tell people, because the stuff I seen people doing was just, it was something else. But that will always be in my pantheon in memory of one of the best shows I ever seen. August 2018, at the casino in Schenectady, New York. You're going to be like, God, dude, no, you're joking. You don't mean this. This is, you're doing this to be funny. You're not. Oh, no. I don't care what anybody thinks. I gotta tell you the truth. Morris Day and the Time. Me, my son, my wife, we all walked out of there just like that was one of the best goddamn shows we ever seen in our life. They got up there and kicked out the jams you remember. They kicked out songs that I never even heard of before. And they did it so tight. They rocked so hard. This was all live. There was nobody doing any kind of trickery, no bullshit. They brought people up from the crowds. Morris Day was joking. They did the whole dance. It was on point and ridiculously good. I don't care. I've seen a zillion shows, but I walked out of looking over at my kid saying, I think that was one of the best things I've ever seen in my life. Upon where he looked back at me and he said, I think it was one of the best things I've ever seen in my life too. Morris Day and the Time, no joking, no bullshit, was one of the best shows I've ever seen. 1987. Glens Falls Civic Center. Basically a hockey arena is what this thing is. I mean, it's just a large hockey arena and you go to see hockey games there. But they also have concerts when they cover up the floor. And we went to see my first big show. My first one. And we are talking about the almighty Kiss. With Ted Nugent open, by the way. How could you hit the mountaintop any higher than that? The Nuge came out, just started screaming to the mic all kinds of profanities. And it was pure insanity. And then tore through a set of his more known songs. It was just incendiary. The man was playing like a machine. It was insane. Then came Kiss. Yes, this was the non-makeup Kiss. But hey, I liked non-makeup Kiss too. I thought they were great. Big fan of Bruce Kulick. Eric Carr, the late and great. You shitting me? And they got up there and they kicked out the jams. I mean, it was a great show. A couple side notes. I made a mistake of wearing a thick leather jacket with an inner lining and a Shorman's black sweater, which I found out when it's about, I don't know, 97 degrees in that place and they hit the flames. You can get a little bit over hot. Second, they had that place so overpacked, I couldn't believe it. There was people in the aisles. There was people just everywhere. At one point, some girl crawled on my shoulder I'd never even seen before. It took me a minute to realize she was there because we were so crushed the whole time. It was great. Lost some of my hearing in my left ear being in front of a big bunch of speakers that night. Is what it is. I have to wear hearing aids. You know what I mean? I've done some damage. Another story for another day. Anyway, it was a great show. It will always be in my pantheon of shows I've ever seen. I remember, I seen Kiss on the fucking reunion tour the first year that they were out. This will always be in my memory higher than that. Just saying. Okay, July 2023. At SPAC, which I mentioned before, Rod Stewart. You know, I'm going to be honest with you folks. Rod Stewart was showing you how the big dogs do it. The pros, the guys that have been around for like 50 freaking years. I was nervous because of his age. I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to expect. Guy's been out there for a long time. We were supposed to see the show a year or two before, but COVID hit and they pushed it back. And now I'm like, oh God, he's freaking like 80 or whatever the hell he's going to be. And I'm like, is it going to be the Rod Stewart we know, we love, we remember? It was. And it was better. His band was on point. I mean, they were spotless. And Rod, yes, he was singing because a couple times he messed up the lyrics and he would ad-lib and do all kinds of shit like that. And you knew it was him. You knew it was really him going to the microphone. He sounded great. He looked great. He was running around on stage like kicking a ball or something. I mean, it was like, how is this guy doing this? He's fucking ancient. He's older than shit. He's had throat problems. He's had the whole thing. This is the guy I remember from The Faces, for Christ's sake. An amazing show. One of the best shows I've ever been to in the history of my life. He showed you why he's on the top, and he has been on the top for decades. Decades. It's how the big boys do it, folks, and you can't deny it. The man's a legend. In my most memorable experience. This ain't going to matter that much to a lot of you, because a lot of you are going to be like, who? But my favorite band of all time, from Houston, Texas, King's X, came to Saratoga Winters, that barn I basically told you about earlier, and put on one of the greatest shows I have ever seen. in the history of my life. They played all night. Immediately they came out and they said, hey, we're gonna like kind of play the new record. I'm like, huh? And they did. Who the fuck does that? Almost nobody. And then they went into like a medley of all, not a medley, but they went into a list of other songs playing their hits and just hitting you with the ones that you knew you were going to get and you were waiting for and you were expecting. But literally to come out and play basically the whole new album, I was like, holy shit, who does that? Nobody minded. Everybody knew all the words to those songs that just came out on the new record. It was nuts. And they ended the night literally by doing a cover of Grand Funk Railroad's, I'm Your Captain, Closer to My Home, that kind of stuff. They invited the audience on stage. Literally, a good chunk of that audience made it onto the stage and were up there singing with the band. Jerry Gaskell, the drummer, his son's band opened up for them. He took over on the drums in the back without missing a beat. It was insane. And he came out and he's singing, and everybody's like, how the hell's the music still going? And he's like doing a ha-ha, what's going on? And you can see his kid jumped on the kit behind him. And it was at that moment, as I was sitting there, thinking about how I knew all the words to that new album and all those new songs. And how I'm up there singing, not on the stage, I stayed right in front of it. How I'm there singing with everybody. And it hit me. This wasn't a concert. This wasn't a show. This was a gathering of the tribe. This was a event where they came to town and this extended family of maniacs for that band, this little band that never broke through to the big time. And we all got together in the fun, the love. There was no fights, there was no pushing, there was no shoving, there was no out of control behavior. It was just a bunch of people brought together in the brotherhood of music, having the time of their lives with the band that they adore, getting along like they were all family who had not seen each other in a while, and singing out loud in joy to every song, including the cover, and having the time of their lives. It will always go down to me, as what a musical experience should be. The dream, if you're in a band, at least for me, for myself, it didn't matter about Madison Square Garden. It didn't matter about big view screens. It didn't matter about the flames. But that moment, when you have people together in unity, in love and happiness, sitting, singing, arms wrapped around people you don't even know, having an experience of joy, brotherhood, it was literally and always will be the greatest concert experience I have ever had in my life. Plain and simple. Okay, everybody, this was a whole lot of fun. I just thought I'd spit it out there. Please leave in the comments below the best concerts you've ever been to and some of the worst. Again, not shitting on the people that had a bad night. Things happen. But throw it out there. And for the concerts that meant something to you, that impacted your life, that did things for you that you just can't even describe to anybody, leave them below too. Share them with everybody. That's why we're here, to experience these things together and to talk about them as one. All right, everybody, be good. Take care. Stay out of trouble. Be kind to a stranger. Be there for a friend. And most of all, never, under any circumstances, never take any bullshit from anybody. See y'all soon.